Hey everyone, welcome to the seventh episode of the Mean Green Gridiron podcast 2024 season. I am joined once again by Carter, sans glasses, as of 2 seconds ago. Carter, how you doing, man?
I'm good. I said a couple weeks ago I wanted to wait through the first 5 games to gauge this team, and I have gauged them, and they're making me very happy.
Yeah,
We get another nice big win to talk about, and I think the last thing I said on the last pod was just we have the bye now, so just don't poop the bed. And they didn't. They did great. The first half was a little sluggish, but we came through and got the win, and yeah, vibes are good. I also got my homecoming ticket today, so I will get to my first home game this year for
awesome.
Tulane. Yeah,
Yeah, it's it's such a good start that I think it's between just like not no one no UNT fan like being comfortable like being too happy with things. Like I think everyone just has that fear of just like getting let down
yep,
and getting their hopes up too high. Between that and the fact that I think the tech game just broke a lot of people's brains. Like there's a lot of people that I've seen on the board or wherever just kind of saying like this doesn't compute. This team can't be good. I watched them against Tech and like that team and a good team cannot be the same. But I gotta say, I think they are. I think we got a really good team. I think we've got a team that almost feels like that may have helped them in the long run. We'll see. Maybe they just would have done this anyways. But either way, it was dominant performance. It was a 52-20 win. It was 52
should
to
have been
6.
more too. Should have
Yeah.
been wider.
Yeah, I mean, it was 52-6 whenever the backup defense came in and gave up a couple garbage time touchdowns, which yeah, whatever. But
Yeah,
yeah,
if you wanna make up like a true score stat, the true score of that game was 52-6. Like,
yeah. Yeah, and I would maybe even give them 45-6 if I'm being generous because I think McGill's touchdown run might have come against backups on their end, but either
oh
way, I
yeah,
mean, it was just it was completely uncompetitive and it happened quick. I mean, the story of this game, anyone who watched it knows it was a very slow, very troubling start. Down 3-0 up until about 5 minutes left in the second quarter. Pop a 96 yard screen pass to Blair Conright that goes the distance, and from there it was just the route was on. I think that last 5 minutes or so of the second half or second quarter, that was some of the best football I've seen UNT play, where all three phases just looked like sharks that smelled blood in the water. I mean,
yep,
offense, as soon as they got the ball, it was like, how fast can we score here?
yep.
Defense, as soon as Tulsa got the ball, it was like, how quick can we get the ball? How quick can we get them to punt or get an interception? And then the special teams was like, TT Sheffield made a really good punt return. We almost, I mean, it was kind of weird. It seemed like we recovered that fumble at the end of the half, and like would have maybe had a chance to kick another field goal there. But regardless, I mean, like I said, it just felt like we were the aggressor on every single play, offense, defense, and special teams.
Yeah,
And that's how you rack up 24 points in 5 minutes. And then third quarter was much of the same. So again, another dominant performance, another really good Chandler Morris performance, second AAC player of the week. And defense just continues to play well. Didn't play as well against the run, but did do very well against the pass. This was, if you look at Kirk Francis's stat line, this was his eighth start of his career at Tulsa, and in his first 7, he was averaging 221 yards passing per game, had thrown 12 touchdowns against 4 picks, and we held him to by far the worst game of his career.
yeah.
2 picks, both by Evan Jackson in the second quarter,
And he
and
predicted the second one.
that
Did you
was
see that
crazy.
video?
Yeah.
That's my guy.
Yeah, that was awesome. But so yeah, I mean, just I think there's something to be said about making a quarterback have his worst career game. I know it's not a long career to this point, but it feels like there have been times in the past where it's like we are giving up career highs to running backs and
Mhm.
quarterbacks and receivers. So to again, hold them to kind of a career worst performance, 13 of 29, 101 yards, 2 picks. Yeah, that was very impressive. What did you see out there? Both, offense, defense, whatever.
So they tried to hammer that run. Bill Jackson's highest carry total so far this year was 8. He had 16 carries against us, so they tried. But him going for 16 for 77 is a win. That's still a good game for a running back. But I'm looking at our stats right now. We allowed 226 total rushing yards, or 229. Uh, that's fine if you give up 186 passing yards. Like 415 total is manageable, and a lot of that was garbage time too.
Exactly.
Um, Again, just one thing that I think we have gotten so much better at is third downs. It was a little worse this week. We had a couple. I think 8 of 20. I thought it was something like 50%. But we stopped them twice on fourth. Anything between like 25 to 30% allowed third down is kind of what I shoot for with the defense. And mostly this year we've been great. Like you said, the 2 turnovers is big. Those are key moments in the game, especially the first one coming in the first half. I don't remember when did the second one happen?
The second touchdown?
No, the second Evan Jackson pick. I know the first was in the first half. It was like a momentum swing.
Yeah, they were both in the second quarter. So I think the first one happened with 2 minutes. Oh wait, no, sorry. 9 minutes and 49 seconds left in the second quarter. And then the second one happened with 35 seconds left in the quarter.
Okay. Yeah, I thought the second one came in the third quarter.
No, it was right there at the end, and then I think the next play was the Wyatt Young touchdown pass.
But yeah, I mean, even like those are the kind of plays that swing momentum in games like this. You look back at like the South Alabama game when we had that, which we didn't really cause that muffed punt where he kicked it off as his own guy, but it's still a special teams touchdown. Like that's still just a big game swinging play. You want your turnovers to not only affect the game, but affect the game in like a big way. Like it's nice to have turnovers. It's not like like a minute left in the fourth quarter we picked it to seal a 30-point win. You want these interceptions to matter and turnovers to be kind of game swinging plays. So I'm glad that Evan Jackson stepped up and had a big game. Like you said, I love that quote, like sharks smelling blood in the water. Like everyone just looked locked in. I mean, like Shane Witter continues to impress me. I know we've given him some crap, but I still am liking what I'm seeing in terms of Weslowski's growth. He's still very much like a boom or bust type player, as I've described him before, but he's looking a little bit more comfortable in his position. We're hopefully going to get those guys back from suspension soon. So it feels like the defense are kind of just coming into their own and establishing some identity in this 3-4, which is exactly what we need. That's all we need is a defense with a little bit of confidence. And it's just nice to see guys that are buying in, because it would have been so easy for this whole thing to just, completely fall apart after last year. And I'm just super proud. I'm not really concerned about the late touchdowns. It's garbage time. Doesn't mean anything to me. The only thing I would say I'm a little concerned about is how many people they have or had on Saturday night with decent rushing numbers. They put the ball in a lot of different guys' hands, and it worked. They were able to kind of spread out their options, and I'm looking at one guy had 7 for 46, one guy had 9 for 32, one guy had 4 for 30, one guy had 3 for 21. So, I don't really think that's anything like super, super concerning, but that's still something I would like to have seen them contain a little bit better. Overall, I just, Chandler Morris is continuing to impress the hell out of me. I'm proud of the way he's bounced back after those weird couple games he had to start the year. After the South Alabama game, of course. Receivers are making plays, which we need them to do. You saw in the Tech game that they were kind of leaving Chandler out to dry, and they've same thing. I know Tulsa and Wyoming.
Oh, hold on, Carter. I think we got
Did you cut out?
It sounded like you did, but
It
yeah.
might have been me. I hope not. No, I was just saying last week I described Tulsa as a good bad team. That they're in a second year head coach and just still trying to figure some stuff out. So I think that I think that's a game that we won by about what I expected us to win, and I don't really have any complaints. 2 weeks after the Tech game, I look at how we handled a bad Wyoming team and a mediocre Tulsa team, and I don't really have any complaints. Quarterback play was great. Receivers have stepped up again. The running back room continues to just do what they do. At this point, I think you could just plug anybody into Patrick Cobb's system, and they'll get you some workhorse yards. It's insane how everybody we plug into this system just produces. Like Mackenzie McGill's a touchdown machine. Kiefer Sibley had a great game. Someone in the group chat was talking about how he just like runs like a rhinoceros, or just like runs just trying to get through walls. Like it's just so fun to see like how many running backs we can pop out. Yeah, I'm happy. I think that was a good win. So that's my thoughts.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up Keeper Sibley. I think he, in our slow start, and it wasn't even necessarily Shane Porter's fault, but the running game just wasn't working with him in there.
Yeah.
It was a big part of that was the offensive line, just not a lot of holes to run through. And I thought in the second half and kind of late first half, it looked like Kiefer Sibley sort of gave some punch to the running game that hadn't really been there in the first half.
It was like what happened against
SFA or
when Akaika was just like unable to get going.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I just got off a 10-hour shift. My brain's just fried.
Very good.
Who was it that we lost to the ankle injury?
Oh, Juwan Price.
Juwan Price was having a great game, and I know he got hurt, but like that was exactly what we did. We started focusing on giving him the ball more because he was creating more space. It just feels like that's what this running back room does so well, is that if one guy is not able to break free, it's like, okay, well, let's try this guy. And then 90% of the time, that next guy works.
Yeah, and I hope that we get DeMaje Harris back after the bye week. But if you look at the running back room, DeMaje Harris is averaging 8.8 yards per carry. Porter is 6.3. Mackenzie McGill is 7.6. Kiefer Sibley 6.9. Even Zach Evans 6.4. So, like you said, I mean, just all of these running backs have made plays so far, and I think, like you said, just whoever has the hot hand, kind of keep going to them. You've got options there. You don't have to keep just hoping that one guy is gonna pop off and he may not be having the best game. You've got these options, and they're pretty solid options. I mean, Mackenzie McGill, I feel bad. I don't think I mentioned him once last week after he scored 3 touchdowns.
A 3-touchdown game. Yeah.
Yeah, we kind of had an abbreviated episode, at least by our standards. And he was one of the guys that I admitted. I mean, 3 touchdowns. And I was looking at his high school stats. Dude has some of the most bonkers high school stats. He had his junior and senior year, he had 5,500 yards from scrimmage offensively. And not playing the highest level, not playing 6A or anything, but playing really good competition out in East Texas. I mean, he was putting up like 2,500 rushing yards and another 500 receiving. Just really crazy, ridiculous stats and to get that kind of dude as a walk-on is really nice, really impressive get there. But yeah, the running game, I thought that, again, it was a little bit slow, but man, there have been times this season, like you said, first half against SFA, first half against Tulsa, pretty much most of the South Alabama game, obviously Tech, like by and large, we've gone large stretches without running the ball well. And that's really put us behind. I think offensively, we're one of the top offenses in the country again this year, but we've done it while not being a great third down offense. And part of the reason why we haven't been a great third down offense is because on some drives, our first and second down runs haven't been great and haven't been very consistent. I think, again, the ability's there. I think that's something that I want to see more out of the team going forward, is just being able to be more consistent in the run game, especially early on, not waiting till the third quarter to start popping off long runs. And I think some of that might be on Eric Morris a little bit too. Shout out to Robert Botts in the group chat. He mentioned, hey, maybe you just this needs to be a pass to set up the run kind of game. Obviously, we're in football, you usually hear people say run to set up the pass. Sometimes it's the other way around, and I think I agreed with that. I thought that Morris could have done more to kind of get maybe the short passing game going, or get some momentum with the passing game early on that could have opened things up for the run game, because the run game was not working early, and that was making things harder to pass. But
can I make one point there? One key element I think of getting that to work is we need to get Oscar Hammond involved more. Like, dude is so good at blocking, creating space. He's one of those players that I don't think I've ever seen him drop a pass or anything sail out of his range. Like, it feels like every time the ball goes to him, he brings it in. Like, and everything I've seen from him this year is kind of what all the hype we've heard about him from the program has been, which is he's just a playmaker, and I think he is a versatile short range weapon that we can use. He had 3 catches this game, but they went for 44 yards. He had a 17-yard catch. His awareness, just the way he plays, like his hands and his field vision are just awesome. I love Oscar Hammond, and I think that's if we want to talk about kind of how many wide receiver weapons we have to kind of establish a little bit of running consistency. We have such a wide range of weapons, man. We need to get that tight end involved more, because he opens up so much. He's so fun. I love Oscar Hammond. DT Sheffield was my preseason pick for favorite player. Oscar Hammond is my midseason pick for, I guess, second additional favorite player. I'm not pushing DT away, but
Oscar Hammond. It's that show on NFL Network. It's like the morning show where they do the angry runs. I don't know if you're familiar with that. They give someone an angry run scepter of the week of some guy whoever in the NFL they see had the angriest run of the week. And whenever Oscar Hammond gets the ball in those kind of short range, just quick passes, he runs angry, and I love watching it. I mean, there have been a couple times where he has kind of been run out of bounds, but he's just shoving this dude who's trying to tackle him 10 yards the other way. And he runs angry. That's definitely a guy that I agree, get him the ball quick and let him work. He's a good athlete, and like I said, he runs angry. That was like I said, the running game wasn't great, but I think there's ways to fix that early on, at least the issues with kind of getting the running game going quicker. I thought my 3 biggest concerns from this game were the offensive line play, the slow start, mostly with the running game, but even with the passing game, and then just the run defense, like you said. I mean, that was not it didn't sink us, but it wasn't as good as we would have liked. And we'll go into it next week, but we're playing an FAU team that really struggles to throw the ball, and as long as we can contain their running game, that should be an easy win. So that's going to be crucial going forward to stop the run. And then offensive line. I mean, there was a play where Chandler Morris got hit in the arm, and it looked like he might have to come out. He was kind of grasping at his hand as if he was trying to have trouble. Having trouble getting having feeling in his hand, and not just that, but like I said, there were plays where he was getting hit and the offensive line wasn't holding up great. That was concerning. Larry Moore at left tackle was getting beat pretty bad and had some penalties, and it almost looked like we were gonna have to pull him out of the game. That was a bit concerning. But anything else there on those topics before obviously we talked about the domination. That's
I was just gonna say the offensive line short up. They were bad early, but they seemed to lock in. I'm very pleased with how this team has been able to adjust and fix some issues in game under Eric Morris. And we talked about it before. That's not anything we ever saw from Latrell. Like Latrell's whole style of ball was like we had a game plan and it either worked or it didn't. And he was not a good coach, or our staff at that time was not great at in-game adjustments. And it feels like all 5 games this year, even the Tech game, like we've had things where it's like, okay, let's go into halftime and what's working, what's not working. Okay, let's try this, and they come out the gates and they at least try some different things. And it feels like whatever the line did at halftime, whatever coach spoke to them, they played more physical in the second half. They locked in for that third quarter. But yeah, early on it was a little bit concerning, and we've had a couple games like that this year where like SFA kind of bullied us for about a quarter in the trenches. I think Wyoming had a couple drives early on where it was just it feels like the line every game this season has needed a little bit to really get some feet planted and some physicality going. But they fixed it, and all you can ask for is 52 points at the end of the day. Doesn't matter when you get them. Just nice to have the 52. Yeah, I don't really have anything else on the game. Attendance sucked. I wish there were more people there, but it feels like that will probably be the last poorly attended game of the year. I hope, unless the season just kind of takes a south nosedive. Maybe ECU's like a 20,000 or less seat game, but I feel like the Army game's going to be packed. Homecoming's going to be packed. So not going to be bitter about it, but just wish there were more people there this weekend. But I wasn't there. I had to work, so I can't complain.
Yeah, I feel the same way. It's like, yeah, disappointed, but also I wasn't there, so I am the problem. But no, real quick, the halftime adjustments thing. So I just looked it up. This season, we have outscored our opponents 77-17 in the third quarter. So you have just coming out like that in the third quarter consistently has been really impressive. But even beyond that, like just like you said, the adjustments, and hopefully we don't get burned by playing good teams, but
right,
and falling behind. But that's something that I feel like, especially when we play the lesser opponents on our schedule, I feel like I'm not as nervous when the ball kicks off because I feel like we can overcome a bad start. But yeah, definitely going forward, you want to see some quicker starts, but being able to consistently just kind of break things open in the third quarter is a nice thing to fall back on.
Yeah. Penalties too. Penalties were bad.
Oh man, yeah. Yeah, I don't know what was up with that. I mean, I think this one felt more like holding penalty kind of thing. There was one early kind of pre-snap penalty where if Chandler Morris had snapped the ball like half a second later, DT Sheffield would have been in illegal formation, but he was on the line of scrimmage when he snapped it. 14 penalties, 130 yards. That's I mean, that's pretty crazy that we played that poor, or that we committed that many penalties and just overcame it so seamlessly. So good and bad, right? It's good that you've got things to clean up and get better at while still being good at the stuff you want to be good at.
It's like the best problem to have. Like we didn't get the offense going at all until like 2 minutes left in the first half. And we had 14 penalties, and we still scored 52 points and left some on the board. Like, I don't know, if you're gonna have problems, that's a good problem to have. That's fixable stuff. You get that penalty number down to 5 to 8, maybe you add another 9-10 points on the board. Who knows? So, yeah. I don't know. Score 52 points. I'm happy.
Yeah.
Do that more.
Anything else you want to talk about with the Tulsa game before we move on?
No, I don't think so. Just attendance. Get out to DACU because the rest of the games are fun. Army and Tulane are going to be big fun games. And I'm going to Tulane, so you can say hi to me. Or you don't have to. No pressure. But if for whatever reason you've been itching to say hello to me, listener, I will be there. And I will come
Yeah.
to the tailgate and you can feed me.
Oof. Yeah. Now we're talking. Yeah, I did a power ranking, and I can maybe talk about it more later. But of the AAC, and I think yeah, the remaining home schedule I've got Army number 2, I've got Tulane number 3, I've got
You got Tulane 3.
yeah,
Interesting.
I've got ECU 6 behind us at 5, and Memphis 4, Navy 1. But I think our last 3 home games are against 3 of the top 5 teams in the conference besides us.
Sure.
Army, Tulane, and ECU. I think after ECU, there's kind of a drop off, or really after us, there's a drop off. But yeah, the point is, these remaining home games are pretty high caliber games. So there's some good football to watch. So definitely good to go out. And I think that Tulsa is not as bad as we made them look, man. I think
yeah. I'm serious. I'm calling them a good bad team. Like they're decent.
Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna get into mailbag stuff. Reached out to some friends and the board and pulled together some stuff. So first one is
real quick.
yeah.
There was one thing I wanted to mention when you brought up FAU. I have watched a lot of football this year. I watch every Saturday. I have like multi screens going. I did not see that UConn beat FAU 48-14.
Yeah.
That slipped past my radar. So we're not going to talk about FAU tonight, but when we do, gonna use that in my notes because I did not know that was a thing.
Yeah. Yeah, FAU is I think after that game, Tom Herman was like, we wouldn't be able to stop Boca Raton Middle School or something like that. So yeah, that was that was a pretty big loss, not just on the scoreboard, but even for their kind of morale around that area. But
I'll be taking note of that for next week for sure.
yeah. All right. Yeah, we will go into FAU plenty next week. But for now, we're gonna go talk mailbag. So I got this question twice, basically same kind of question. Tony asked this, and then I think somebody on the board asked it as well. Let me see. Basically, just asking like updated predictions for the rest of the season. So Big Z on Going Green asked, "What's your prediction for the rest of the season?" Tony asked, "Updated floor ceiling for the team after 5 games." I think we'll go ahead and kind of handle both at once. What are your thoughts on kind of your ceiling and what you're expecting right now?
To answer the first part of that, I think the ceiling is we're definitely going to lose again at some point. I think we have too many question marks in terms of team discipline. I think the excitement of having a different star player pop off every game is fun, but there is going to come a game where maybe we just don't get that and we have to scramble and figure out something that's a little bit more team involved. You look at the people left on our schedule. Army's a team that, if they want to, can run for 600 yards on us. I'm not saying that to spite our defense, who have been playing pretty well. It's just you got to show me that you can stop a team like that. So I definitely think we're going to lose again. But in terms of talent, man, we've taken care of business against the teams we need to. And until I see us play a Memphis or an Army, or even an ECU. I know that's the last game of the year. It's either that game or Temple. I don't remember.
They're the last home game. Temple's the last game.
Okay. Yeah, I want to see us play a team that's a little bit higher. Tulsa's decent, like I said, but I still don't think they're a great unit. Wyoming's bad. SFA is an FCS team. The South Alabama win is still kind of holding on our schedule. That might be the best win of our season. Yeah. So it's not a lack of confidence. I want to see us really, really beat a good team like Army. I think the floor for the rest of the way, if I had to update it, I don't remember what my beginning of season floor was. I think I said 7-5. We're definitely winning 7 games. I think
I
there
think
are.
he said 8-4.
Did I say 8-4? Okay, I stick with that. Like I'm just going off of how these teams have played so far. FAU is very beatable. Temple's awful. Those are 2 teams we should beat. ECU is a team we're better than. I mean, that's 3 wins right there. UTSA looks terrible. They're at least down from what they're expected to have been. Um, and then I said it in our chat last night. I don't think that Memphis, Army, and Tulane sweep us. I think we're going to be able
Right.
to win at least one of those games. So I think there's 4 or 5 wins left on the schedule if things go well. So I'm going to say our ceiling is 10-2, and floor I'll stick with 8-4. I know that's not very much of a window there, but it really just depends on if this team's able to clean up some of its issues it's had in these bad games, because you can't have 14 penalties against Memphis. I mean, that's an offense that is going to play way better against you than Tulsa did. We got away with some Tulsa penalties that killed some of their drives. I think both of their 4th down attempts that we stopped were in the first half. I know one was, but we were able to stall them out a little bit just because they aren't great on offense.
Mhm.
Which again, part of that was how well our defense played, but just I don't know. I need to see our team kind of play up to somebody.
Sure.
I'm not saying the South Alabama win doesn't mean anything, but as we get into October, that's key. So yeah, I'll stick with 10-2 as my ceiling, and 8-4 as my floor. But we've never had a 10-win season, so I think that's a pretty good ceiling, and it's completely attainable. So
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And I think I would say floor, I would say 7-5, just things go bad. I think that's kind of worst case scenario.
that's it. That's if things go really, really, really bad. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think, look, winning these games the way we have, it's nice that 5 games in, we are no longer looking at the season through the lens of bowl eligibility.
Mhm.
It's this team. It's basically a foregone conclusion. But what we're looking at is how many can they win? And I would say I want to give them a 10-2 ceiling, but I think I'm just gonna go 9-3 because it's just 7 games. 3 of them are really hard. Like you said, I don't think we get swept, but
Yeah, they're really good teams.
yeah.
Dude, but
And
even then, a 9-win season is a 4-win improvement. Like that's great for year 2 of a head coach to go 9-3. That's awesome. So
mhm. Yeah, 9 wins and in, what's clearly a better conference than what we were coming from. So I think that just, continues to move the program forward. But yeah, I think 7-5 to 9-3 is what I'm expecting as kind of ceiling floor, and 8-4 probably most likely, but that's a pretty solid most likely outcome, with some room for maybe better. But yeah. Um, Next one I got is thoughts on Coach O recruiting Alejandro. Um, he's an enigmatic character. He's a polarizing guy. I think among the fan base, uh, he's been a little bit abrasive with the fan base, which has led to some funny moments. But
is
um,
it appropriate for me to ask him to unblock me? Like I don't, Coach O. My Twitter @ is Jimmy John's BF. You can unblock me, please. I got mad after we lost to Cal last year, and I admit that was selfish of me. I would like to be unblocked, please. I know he listens to this because he was listening to the Twitter space that I was in recently about UNT stuff. So I know he checks this stuff out. Maybe he's not going to listen this far into whatever this is, episode 6 of our season run, but I hope he does. And if he does, please unblock me. I'm sorry.
yeah, look, I think I have a couple friends who coach in the area, and he is a well known guy in the scene. So I think he's got a lot of pull in the area right now. We've got really some top recruits in the area
Yeah.
right now. You look at Chris Jimerson at North Crowley, being kind of the main guy, but also the receivers that we got, Jacoby Hayes and Terrence Lewis. Terrence Lewis isn't a Metroplex guy, but Jacoby Hayes is from Mansfield. We've got some other guys we're looking at, but yeah, I think he helps. I think as long as he's here, that's a nice get. And I think high school recruiting, I know a lot of people don't like the idea of high school recruiting anymore because people are scared that whenever we find a gem, he's just going to leave us as soon as he starts popping off for us. And I get that. But I think what it has really done here is serve as like a foundation for this roster's depth. You look at how many guys in our two deep are freshmen, redshirt freshmen, true sophomores. I mean, Eric Morris is talking about this in his press conference. But yeah, like we have a ton of contributors from these two high school classes that he's brought in, and they're kind of those next men up, or guys. They like I said, they serve as that foundation. Think of a guy like Colin Lewis in the secondary. He was a pretty good cornerback, and then all those guys went down, or all those guys were suspended or whatever, and he's filled in at safety as a backup safety. Like just having guys like that throughout your roster. Tyler Mercer as the backup center whenever Jet Duncan went down early, like things like that are huge for the just keeping the program afloat and keeping it kind of at the level that we want to. You can get a Chandler Morris out of the portal, but to have that solid foundation on the roster, I think is really helpful through their high school recruiting. So again, Coach O, he's a thumbs up for me.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think some of the guys who we've already kind of pulled in, you look at guys like Barron Tipton and Tyler Mercer with how he's played at points this year. There's a Jaden Smith. There's guys kind of all over that have made at least a little bit of an impact this year so far. Shane Witter was transferred. Never mind. But yeah, no, there's guys kind of everywhere that have made an impact. So yeah, I'm not as like clued in on like specific recruits or like class rankings or all that stuff. I keep an eye on Twitter and try to see who we're looking at, but you're definitely clued in more on like where guys go to school and where they come from and stuff like that. So I just try to keep an eye on like where guys come from and if they make an impact. So yeah, I'll give Coach O the meaningless 2 thumbs up from me, the guy who does not know jack about recruiting. I will say though, I'm watching the highlight tape of Terrence Lewis and Jimerson both just makes me very excited. The fact that we can get guys like that in our commit list, pretty exciting.
I know. I watch our passing game and I'm like, hey, we got these guys coming up next. Like this is going to continue. Yeah, exactly.
A little hands rubbing, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and real quick too, that just kind of pointing out too that even with transfers coming in, like it's nice that we've been able to have back-to-back quarterbacks that have been successful. It feels like the system's kind of being put in place, which is that's obviously a very important thing when you're recruiting. So I don't know, that's an element that I'm appreciative of, is that it feels like there's a system that players are buying into, which is obviously like the main part of recruiting. So yeah.
Yep. Going from high school recruiting, got a question from JD, the North Texas Eagle himself. Thoughts on JUCO offers? So yeah, I have noticed this. We've had a lot of JUCO offers going out, and I think it's interesting. My initial reaction is that we've seen this with the basketball side of things. Like because of the portal, we're seeing JUCO guys kind of being under recruited, and that kind of being an opportunity, an area of opportunity there. We've got some holes, whether it be kind of outside receiver. I think we could use an experienced outside receiver after Damon Ward and Blair Conwright leave. Offensive tackle, you got Landon Peterson's a senior at right tackle. That's Jet Duncan center. So offensive line help is going to be I think key for going in the spring, and then just defensive line, always kind of trying to improve there and get bigger and stronger on the defensive line. That's kind of the areas that I've seen most of the offers going out. But yeah, I think it's interesting because I think we're now kind of getting to the stage of Morris's development where he has built the foundation of the team through high school recruits, and he's going to continue signing a bunch. But now that he's got that foundation, he can kind of go pick and choose a few positions that that we need more immediate help on. And then with the portal, you're kind of at the mercy of just what's there. And I think with JUCO recruiting, at least you can go pick out your guys right now. The funny thing about Chandler Morris that I always come back to is like if Chandler Rogers hadn't left when he left, then we wouldn't have Chandler Morris. And so, like I said, luckily it worked out great, and you had that guy to pick up. But there's not always going to be a Chandler Morris, waiting in the portal, or a similar kind of guy at whatever position you need. Yeah, that's my thoughts on the JUCO gun, the JUCO targeting. Question I got from Evan Frantum. He said, expectations in the future for Brian Nelson, Evan Jackson, etc. So I think this kind of focused on the young secondary guys. Nelson didn't have his best game this week. He's shown a lot of promise earlier in the season. He's a 6-foot cornerback, rangy guy. Evan Jackson did have a great game, had a couple picks. I think he's kind of stepping into a role as like a real playmaker on the defense. Just a true sophomore. I'll go ahead and add Taylor Starling in there. He's played a lot at cornerback. So just a lot of good young talent in the secondary for ready to take over after Ridge Tejada passes the mantle there after the season. So yeah, what are your thoughts on kind of some of these young talented guys we've seen in the secondary this year?
I think they have taken a large step where they need to in terms of passing awareness, in terms of play recognition, in terms of physicality. I'm relatively modestly happy with what I've seen from our secondary. There are still some plays where our guys are just getting burnt and kind of throwing their hands up, and the ball goes 20 yards over the receiver's head, and we do which always just makes me mad. But then I realize every team gets that. It's a universal meme in the college football landscape.
It doesn't make me as mad as whenever like we make a tackle on second down and the guy's like half a yard short, and we're like everybody puts up their fists like he's short.
Yeah,
and like I know they're doing it to like signal like what kind of package they need to run, but it's like, why are you guys celebrating getting the guy short? It is third and half a yard.
Yeah, they're just about to run it in for
right.
Yeah, no, I mean, like you said, it's kind of fun that like on the defensive side now, it feels like last year was just kind of like Rich Tejada and a bunch of guys who didn't know what they were doing, and now this year it's kind of been the same thing as the offense, where like you get a game from Evan Jackson where it's like, oh man, this guy was like a highlight player, and turned the tide of the game. Especially getting some of the transfer guys back. I think we have a lot of reasons to be excited about the secondary going forward. We'll see what they do against Seth Hennigan, who I think is good, but is he better than Gio Lopez?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say, I'd say it's pretty close, at least passing wise.
So
Gio Lopez running probably maybe gives him the advantage.
Yeah, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, he's like by far, obviously, the best quarterback we play left. But him and Gio Lopez are clearly like the two great quarterbacks we play this year. Like Gio Lopez has turned into a stud, which is good for us, I think, in terms of the schedule. But yeah, no, I mean, I don't know. I'm excited. I think everything's good. Like I said, I'm just glad that I can clearly see a tangible improvement in play recognition and like a defensive unit that is locked in, even if it's not for a full 15 minutes for 4 quarters. Like they're doing what they need to do to get the job done, and so that's, like I said earlier, like with those turnovers too, like the turnovers we're creating this year are like big turnover, like game changing plays, which is not something we're used to with this defense. So it's fun. So yeah, a lot of them are coming from the secondary. I think it's exciting.
Yeah, and while we're talking about the secondary, so again, excluding the Texas Tech game, we are allowing just 50.6% completion percentage. You throw the Tech game in there, it's up to 54%, which isn't terrible either.
That's still great, yeah.
Yeah, but to hold these G5 and FCS opponents to less than 51% completion percentage. I remember the first game against South Alabama. That was one of the, I guess, for me, bright points is that we held them to 53% completion percentage. Um, that to me was like, okay, cool. Like we forced a lot of incompletions. Like that shows that our defense, our secondary has the ability to, to not get thrown all over and to not
Yeah.
give up easy passes. And like I said, that's continued. Kirk Francis was like 10 out of 29.
Mhm.
And yeah, these young secondary guys are a big part of it. Evan Jackson, I was really happy to see him get picks because Evan Jackson has been he's played a lot here his first 2 seasons, and he's made a lot of tackles. But to me, like he's listed at 5'11", 176, and he even in his high school films, like super athletic dude, super fast, super like he was a returner for his high school, which is like one of the top high schools in the state. And I felt like I want to see him be an interception guy. You know, I want to see him be that kind of safety who comes
Yeah.
over and ranges and gets picks, because that to me is like the type of ability that he has.
Mhm.
Like I said, at 5'11", 176, like he's not gonna be like knocking dudes silly. He's not gonna be coming up into the box and like
Yeah.
mixing it up with linemen and tight ends and getting off those blocks. You know, that like his body type, like he should be more of a rangy coverage kind of safety. And for him to get those 2 picks was really impressive. And I want to see more of that from him. Want to see more, just continuing to make things hard on the opposing passing games, just covering a lot of ground.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
for
then
sure.
Taylor Starling's played well as well. Brian Nelson, like I said, I think he has a chance to be one of our better players on the defense as well. Just
Mhm.
very rangy, tall cornerback. Played really well the first 2 games, and I think he'll get back to that.
Yeah, and I was gonna say Brian Nelson has handled the increased workload like exceptionally because I think he only played like 3 or 4 games last year.
Right? Yeah.
Um, Especially when you thrust a guy like that into a defense that has struggled. Um, when he's playing as well as he is, and kind of showing signs of improvement every game, that's really encouraging. Especially just how bad the secondary was. Like those are guys that you want to see kind of take a step forward. And so I just wanted to shout him out. His playing time increase has been nothing but a positive turnout. So good
Yeah.
job, good job, Byron Nelson.
Another question I got was regarding realignment. So it said, from 3 and out on Going Green, I'm curious to learn if we were approached by the pack to join prior to the decision of the AAC4 to recommit. I know it's moot. Can you speak on that? And if we were, should the admin have milked it like UTSA to get attention? Um, I think we were approached in terms of like gauging interest. I think we were kind of one of the candidates that stood out for the pack to kind of expand, but I think it just didn't make the most sense. That they don't have. I don't think the teams that would make it attractive. Like if this was the old Pac-12 that we were going into, then yeah, sure. But like given these, like it's just kind of like the Mountain West plus at this point, and
Yeah,
it didn't seem like worth all the headache for the university to go into that conference from all the way out in Texas.
yeah. I mean, I feel like we're in about the best situation we could be in. I
Yeah.
feel like the AAC, like what I really care about is who we're bringing for home games. I've said it before. I know I've said it on here. I've said it on like prior podcasts. Like me trying to get people to come to UNT games has been a struggle because it's really easy to be like, "Hey, we're playing SMU this weekend."
Hmm.
You'll be like, "Oh, okay." Like that, you know, maybe I'll come. And just like there's been a couple games where I've been able to get some interest, but I mean, like just straight up, whenever I've invited friends to come watch us play UTEP or like Florida International, like they just don't care. And I'm not saying that they necessarily should, but like I've got a couple buddies who I talk football with like every day, and like being able to talk about our game with Memphis, which is like a substantially important G5 game, that's cool. That's fun. And if we were in the Sun Belt too, I mean, games with like Texas State or like Coastal or App State, like Those are games that mean something. I don't think there's any school that kind of moves that meter in the Pac-12 other than the two that were left over.
And Boise, but yeah.
And Boise, yeah. But I don't know. I mean, I'm such a purist, and like I wish conferences were back the way they were in like '07. Like I miss the Big East.
Yeah.
I miss the WAC. I miss when like West Virginia was not in the Big 12 for whatever reason. Like I think there's so much geographical confusion enough as it is, and I like having fun home games. I know we've got like a bunch of fun home and homes coming up with like Baylor and Tech. I think
Missouri,
Colorado.
yeah.
Like we've got some fun teams coming to Denton. But what I don't want is to have us be like, all right, that's our big game this year. Now we get, Colorado State and Utah State. I don't know. I like the name brands that we have in this conference. Just geographically speaking, you can convince people to come out to Army or Memphis or Tulane or, even like ECU or Rice. Those are teams that in UTSA now that they've established like a really good football following the last decade. I don't think there's a better situation out there. I know it's like super tantalizing to hear that we're like, in talks with this conference, or we could. It's like kind of like a grass is always greener. Like, yeah, you can always switch conferences, but we're never going to be in the SEC or like the Big 12. So this is about as good as it's going to get. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm happy where we're at.
Yeah, I think for a school like USC, like it's dumb that they are in a conference with Ohio State or exactly, Rutgers for sure, or Penn State. Like it's dumb that those teams are in the same conference, but at the same time, like you get it with the amount of money flowing in those games, in those TV deals. Like you get it. It doesn't for the amount of money that would be with us. It doesn't make as much sense to be flying out to Utah State, to Logan, Utah for track or for the Olympic sports as well, in addition to football. So yeah, I think it didn't make as much sense. Another question: can you find out if they have completely scrapped the 3-3-5? I'll let Eric Morris speak on this one because he said this in the press conference. I mean, yeah, exactly. We don't know, but at the same time, like in the press conferences, he has said that like they're going to continue running both, and I think it's more the thought was more to get your best linebackers on the field, and to tell you the truth, I think a big part of why the switch was made is because Javen Anderson was not playing well at safety, and we didn't really have better options than him behind him. So it made sense to say, hey, how about instead of putting like a former walk-on safety out there instead of Javen Anderson, how about we just put Shane Witter out there, who has been like playing really well, just give him an expanded role. That made more sense. So I think it had more to do with personnel than it had to do with us just saying 3-5 doesn't work. Again, I think I said this last week, but once we get Sproles and BJ Allen and Yasheem Young back next year, like I think it'll probably be more back to 3-5 again. So yeah, I think that we are going to continue seeing a lot of 3-4, and then depending on the opponent, we might see more 3-3-5 if it's if it makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Do Trumps or Kamala's have a real plan regarding the deficit? I don't know anything about this. I think I'll just let Carter answer this one.
What is this referring to? Like multiple forms of like Trumps and Kamala's? Are there more than one of each?
Yeah, I don't know. This one's from Golf and Gomez. It has some it leaves some ambiguity to it.
I don't know, man. I don't know that either of those two knows a ton about stopping the run. So
yeah,
I'm gonna refrain from tossing out an answer there. But I do like the idea of there being multiple like miniature Trumps and Kamalas, which is what that question makes it sound like.
So. Yeah. Or maybe Kamala's Tim Walz ran a 4-4 defense in Minnesota. Maybe that's what our defense is missing against the run.
That's true. That's true. Kind of cool. Tim Walz is a football guy. I should have thought about that before I spoke just now. That's yeah. Who knows? Maybe.
Okay, from NT93. I feel like this one's a troll one as well. It says, has UTEP really passed us by? No, they haven't passed us by just because they got in the Mountain West. we beat them like the last 6 or 7 times we played them. No, we are ahead of them in every way, recruiting, on the field. No.
I did mention the other day that I am happy for UTEP. That
Yeah,
feels
for
like a
sure.
program that could have got left in the dust. And there are enough people who kind of like us. They have like a small but dedicated fan base. And maybe I'm biased because I'm a Texan, but I'm glad that they got something out of this whole deal. So
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's a big city, and they're like the only show in town too.
right,
So like that's yeah, you want schools like that to have a chance. I think I was listening to JD's or Sonoe's podcast on JD's Patreon. They had a guy from Wyoming, and he was saying that like yeah, for over here, like Wyoming Cowboys is like that's the team. Like there is no
hmm
NFL over here. Like that's and I love those kind of situations in college football where it's like yeah, you have 30,000 people going to a UTEP Miners game because
yep.
it's like hey, this is the biggest football show we have in town.
Plus, the Sun Bowl's so cool, man.
It is,
That's
yeah.
such a cool stadium. Also, I'm going through the messages on this thread, and 3 and outs question, which is very silly. I'll let you decide if you want to read it or not. This guy has negative 675 points. Like, come on, if you're gonna be that downvoted, you can ask a question better than how much wood could a woodchuck chuck. Come on,
Right.
come on,
And
lean into it, man.
right, for sure. Like if you're gonna troll, yeah, give something good. Because but also, how much wood could a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood is inherently a dumb question because if a woodchuck could chuck wood, we know a woodchuck can chuck wood. So
Yeah,
that serves no purpose to the question. Just leave it at how much wood could a woodchuck chuck, and then maybe give some parameters. How much wood could a woodchuck chuck in a lifetime, in a year, in a week? Like it's just yes, the
spend
simple.
less time on the boards. Go to a zoo. Come on.
Yeah, exactly. Um, yeah, a lot of boomer gifts from '97 and '03. Um, yeah, I think we got through all the meaningful ones.
Aztec Skin, who runs the amazing Mean Green Nation podcast, said,
Yes,
do you like this gig?" Which is a good ticket reference for my fellow P1s. Um, if by this gig he means the podcast, then yes, I do enjoy this gig. I also like your podcast. You guys are good. Uh, yeah,
yeah. Adam's a good person. We hung out one time in San Antonio. It was pretty fun. We threw the football around with my son and a bunch of other kids. It's one of the things that's great about football is if that you show up with a football somewhere and there are a bunch of kids, you can get big swarms really quickly. So like we were playing like jackpot, and at first there was like 3 kids, and then there was like 5, and then all of a sudden there was like 20 kids in this little like shopping area that we were hanging out at. But anyways, yeah, fun times. I think we got through all of them. I think this is a productive mailbag, and then go into next week, talk some FAU and the rest of the season, and hopefully go 5-1. One last thing I think that was asked was like regarding who we're going to be watching this week. Um, I don't, unfortunately I don't get to watch like a ton of football on Saturdays. Like I don't just get to sit on my couch all day like I would like to. So yeah, I try and keep up with the AAC games. I try and keep an eye on the like our past opponents to see like, oh, how are
right.
they performing? We've got a few conference games this week. We've got Army goes to Tulsa, Tulane goes to UAB. UAB looks like a train wreck right now. East Carolina goes to Charlotte. Charlotte doesn't look great. They beat Rice by 1, so they're 1-0 in conference. But it's probably 2 of the 3 worst teams in the conference played each other there. But yeah, I would say I'm just looking at kind of mostly the conference games, and then whatever games are just going to be on TV wherever you go. If you go to
I was gonna say if you want to do what Billy just said and just kind of like keep an eye on like opponents or to kind of do some scouting, this is the weekend to do it because there's
Mhm.
not really that many entertaining top 25 games outside of like Missouri, Texas A&M. Is that's about it. I mean,
Right.
Ole
Yeah.
Miss plays South Carolina, and Tennessee, Arkansas might be fun for like a quarter. There's not that many good games this weekend. So if you're gonna play the scouting game, do it Saturday.
Yep.
Is it or not? Is FAU or Tulane off this weekend, or maybe both?
FAU's off. Tulane's playing UAB. Yeah, there's not a ton of. I think about half the conference is off this week.
Okay. Real quick, before we sign off, can we talk about UAB and Charlotte's coaching staffs just basically punting on giving a shit? Like,
yeah.
If you're not clued in, I think Biff Pogge's defensive coordinator is like threatening people's jobs on Twitter, and then Trent Dilfer in his press conference, he said that his job is like not as serious as Alabama's. It's just like it's not, but you don't have to say it. Like you can at least try to take it seriously.
Well,
just two embarrassing AAC coaching mishaps this week.
Yeah, and he tried to kind of defend himself for it later on. He was saying it was because he wanted his grandson to come up with him or something like that, and he was basically saying like, "Oh, it doesn't need to be so strict. It's not like it's Alabama." But again, like you said, I mean, it's just not the right thing to say, not a smart thing to say. It does nobody any favors.
Also, your team sucks. Like if you're gonna be like nonchalant and like suave and like I don't care. Like at least win. Like UAB stinks. So I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't think they were gonna be that bad either. Like when we played them the last game of the year last year, like Zeno from Baylor, like he looked like a good quarterback. I thought they would at least be kind of 5-7-ish kind of team. But yeah, they don't look great. And of course,
we don't get them this year. Yeah.
We don't play them. We don't play Charlotte. We don't play Rice. The only like bottom feeder AAC team that we play this year is Temple. And I would say probably the next worst is either Tulsa or FAU out of the ones that we're actually on our schedule.
And does Temple not just scream like November trap game in Philly? Like
yeah.
Does it not?
I'm planning my trip, or I'm not planning my trip. I've thought about going there to like, oh, it'd be cool to watch UNT play in an NFL stadium kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And Philly's fun enough town. And yeah, I'm just like, if I do that, they're gonna lose, aren't they?
It's gonna be like 40 degrees at best,
right?
It's like cold sleet raining, and it's our last game. Like I don't know. It is tempting. A good cheesesteak sounds nice, but
yeah.
Well, let's worry about the first 6 games, and then maybe I'll make a last second decision to go to Temple. There's like a less than or like a more than 50% chance that I might go to I think it's Washington USC.
Oh,
I wanted to go to I've been planning a Seattle trip for a while, and I think I planned it the weekend that Washington hosts USC, but I was hoping Washington would be better.
Right.
They've kind of fallen off a little bit of a cliff, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see if we start winning some big games here. Maybe I'll put that trip on ice and go to Philly. So we'll see.
Yeah, sounds like a win-win for you either way.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, either way, I get to go to a new city. I've been to Philly one time, but I haven't really explored it, and I have never been to Seattle. So
I think your next city should be going back to Chicago to watch them play at that Northwestern Stadium. Do you see that? The stadium right off the lake.
Such a fun place. So I wish that was their new stadium. I've seen people on Twitter say the same thing where it's like, why can't they just keep this? This is perfect.
Yep. All right. Well, if you're still listening, thank you very much. And glad we could reach out and be men of the people as we are in all other facets of our life. That's what we're here for. But yeah, glad we could talk another dominating win and answer some questions. And then we'll see you guys next week to talk FAU. But till then, go Mean Green.
Go Mean Green. Enjoy your off week.